Adaeze tied her apron tightly around her waist, her hands trembling slightly as she prepared for another busy day at Mama T's restaurant in the heart of Lagos. The air was thick with the aroma of jollof rice and egusi soup. Customers shouted their orders, and Adaeze moved swiftly, balancing trays with a smile that hid her exhaustion. She had been working here for 6 months, saving every kobo she earned. No one knew her secret, not her coworkers, not the customers. Adaeze was no ordinary waitress. She was the only daughter of Chief Obi, a billionaire oil magnate. Adaeze had chosen this life deliberately. Her father had wanted her to take over his empire, but she insisted on proving herself first. "I don't want to be handed everything, Daddy," she had told him, her voice firm. Chief Obi had reluctantly agreed, but only if she promised to return after a year. So, she traded her designer dresses for a waitress uniform, her luxury penthouse for a small room in Oshodi. Her co-workers, like Funk, thought she was just another struggling girl. Adaeze liked it that way. It made her feel free, untethered from the weight of her family name. That afternoon, a man in a flashy abode stormed into the restaurant, barking orders. "Where's my food? Do you know who I am?" he shouted, slamming his fist on the table. Adaeze hurried over, her heart racing. She apologized profusely, explaining the kitchen was backed up. The man sneered, "You're useless. People like you will never amount to anything." His words stung, but Adaeze kept her composure. She knew he'd be shocked if he discovered who she really was. Still, she served him with a smile, her pride intact. She wouldn't let anyone break her spirit, no matter how cruel. After the rude customer left, Funk pulled Adaeze aside. "Why do you let people talk to you like that?" she asked, her brows furrowed. Adaeze shrugged, wiping down a table. "It's not worth the fight," she replied softly. Funk wasn't convinced. She had always found Adaeze strange, too polished, too calm for someone in their line of work. "You talk like someone who went to a fancy school," Funk teased, but Adaeze laughed it off. She couldn't tell Funk the truth, that she had studied at Oxford and spoke 4 languages. Her past was a secret she guarded fiercely. The day dragged on, with endless orders and spills to clean. Adaze's feet ached, but she didn't complain. She thought of her father's words, "Hard work builds character." She wanted to understand the struggles of ordinary Nigerians, not just read about them. As she served a plate of pounded yam, a little girl at the table smiled at her. "You're so pretty, auntie," the girl said. Adaze's heart warmed. Moments like these made the job bearable. She slipped the girl a piece of candy from her pocket, a small act of kindness that reminded her why she was here. During her break, Adaze's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, her father. She stepped outside, her heart pounding. "Adaeze, it's been 6 months. When are you coming back?" Chief Obi's voice was stern but laced with worry. "Soon, Daddy," she promised, though she wasn't ready. "I'm learning so much here." Her father sighed. "I'm proud of you, but don't forget who you are." Adaeze hung up, her mind racing. She missed her old life, the luxury, the ease, but she wasn't done proving herself. She tucked her phone away and returned to the chaos of the restaurant. Mr. Chakuma, a regular customer, arrived just before the evening rush. He was a quiet man, always tipping generously. "Adaeze, you work too hard," he said as she served his pepper soup. She smiled, grateful for his kindness. "It's nothing, sir," she replied. Mr. Chakuma studied her for a moment. "You remind me of someone," he said, but didn't elaborate. Adaeze wondered if he suspected something. She had to be careful, her father's face was often on the news, and she shared his sharp cheekbones. She couldn't risk being recognized, not yet. Not everyone at Mama T's liked Adaeze. Tolu, another waitress, had been cold to her from the start. "Why do customers always ask for you?" Tolu snapped one evening, her arms crossed. Adaeze didn't respond. She knew Tolu was struggling and didn't want to add to her burden. But Tolu's jealousy grew. She started spreading rumors, saying Adaeze was sneaking tips. Adaeze ignored the gossip, focusing on her work. She had bigger things to worry about than petty drama. Still, Tolu's words lingered, a reminder that fitting in was harder than she had expected. Late that night, as Adaeze cleaned the restaurant alone, doubt crept in. Was she really cut out for this? Her hands were calloused, her back ached, and she hadn't slept well in weeks. She thought of her old life, her soft bed, her father's mansion, the endless parties. Maybe she was foolish to think she could live like this. But then she remembered why she started, to prove she could stand on her own. She straightened up, wiped her hands, and whispered to herself, "I'm stronger than this." Adaeze wasn't a quitter, no matter how hard it got. The next day, Funk noticed Adaze's tired eyes. "You need a break," she said, dragging Adaeze to the back for a cup of tea. As they sipped, Funk shared her own struggles, how she was supporting her siblings after their parents died. Adaeze listened, her heart aching. She wanted to help but couldn't reveal her wealth. Instead, she offered a listening ear. Funk smiled, grateful. "You're different, Adaeze. I don't know how, but you are." Adaeze squeezed her hand, thankful for the friendship. Funk was becoming her anchor in this new, challenging world. While cleaning a table, Adaeze found a newspaper with her father's face on the front page. "Chief Obi expands oil empire," the headline read. Her heart skipped a beat. She quickly tucked the paper away, but not before Tolu noticed. "Why are you so jumpy?" Tolu asked, her eyes narrowing. Adaeze brushed it off, saying she was just tired. But the incident shook her. She had to be more careful. If anyone connected her to Chief Obi, her experiment would be over. She couldn't let that happen, not when she was so close to proving herself. On her way home, Adaeze stopped to buy oranges from a young hawker named Chidi. He was barely 12, his clothes tattered. "Auntie, please buy," he begged, his voice small. Adaeze bought more than she needed and slipped him an extra 500 naira. Chidi's eyes lit up. "God bless you, Auntie," he said. Adaeze smiled, but her heart was heavy. She thought of her father's wealth, billions that could help boys like Chidi. It strengthened her resolve. She wasn't just here for herself, she wanted to understand people's struggles so she could make a difference one day. That night, as Adaeze lay in her tiny room, someone knocked on her door. It was her neighbor, Ndozi, holding a plate of fried plantain. "I saw you coming home late again," Ndozi said. "You need to eat." Adaeze thanked her, touched by the gesture. As they ate, Ndozi shared stories of her own youth, working hard to survive. Adaeze listened, realizing how much she had in common with these women, despite her wealth. It was humbling. She went to bed that night with a renewed sense of purpose, grateful for the community around her. The next day, chaos erupted at Adaeze. Someone had stolen money from the cash register, and Tolu pointed fingers at Adaeze. "She's always sneaking around," Tolu accused. Adaeze was stunned. She had never stolen a kobo in her life. Adaeze, the owner, called a meeting. "I'll get to the bottom of this," she said sternly. Adaze's heart raced, she couldn't afford to be fired. She pleaded her innocence, and Funk backed her up. "Adaeze isn't a thief," Funk said firmly. Adaeze nodded, but the suspicion lingered, casting a shadow over Adaze's already difficult day. Later that day, Adaeze caught the real thief, a delivery boy who had been sneaking into the restaurant. He confessed, clearing Adaze's name. Tolu mumbled an apology, but Adaeze could see the resentment in her eyes. "I'm sorry I doubted you," Momati said, patting Adaeze's shoulder. "You're one of my best workers." Adaeze smiled, relieved. The incident reminded her how fragile her position was. She had to stay focused and keep her secret safe. But it also showed her who her true allies were. Funk's loyalty meant more to her than she could ever express. Momati announced a new challenge for the staff: whoever brought in the most customers that week would get a bonus. Adaeze saw it as an opportunity to prove herself further. She worked harder than ever, charming customers with her warm smile and quick service. Even the grumpiest patrons softened under her care. Funk noticed her effort. "You're too good at this," she teased. Adaeze laughed, but inside, she was determined to win. She wanted to show that she could succeed on her own merits, not because of her father's name or money. On the third day of the challenge, a familiar face walked into the restaurant, her cousin, Emeka. Adaeze froze. Emeka was her father's favorite nephew, often at the mansion for family gatherings. "Adaeze," he said, his eyes wide. She pulled him aside quickly. "Please, don't tell anyone," she whispered. Emeka frowned but nodded. "I won't, but Uncle Obi is worried about you." Adaeze sighed, grateful for his silence. She served him his food, her hands shaking. Emeka's visit was a stark reminder of the life she had left behind, and the risk of being discovered. By the end of the week, Adaeze had brought in more customers than anyone else. Her charm, hard work, and genuine kindness won people over. Momati handed her the bonus, 10,000 naira, with a proud smile. "You're a natural," she said. Adaeze felt a surge of pride. For the first time, she had earned something entirely on her own. Tolu scowled from the corner, but Adaeze didn't care. She shared the bonus with Funk, buying her a new scarf as a thank you for her support. It was a small gesture, but it meant the world to Funk. That evening, Adaeze and Funk sat on the restaurant steps, sharing a bottle of malt. The city buzzed around them, but for a moment, they were at peace. "I've never had a friend like you," Funk admitted, her voice soft. Adaeze smiled, her heart full. She thought of her old friends, socialites who cared more about status than loyalty. Funk was different. She was real. Adaeze wanted to tell her the truth, but she couldn't, not yet. Instead, she hugged Funk tightly, grateful for the bond they had built in the midst of all the chaos. The next day, Emeka returned to the restaurant. "Adaeze, you need to be careful," he warned. "Uncle Obi is talking about sending someone to check on you." Adaeze's stomach dropped. She had hoped to have more time. "Please, Emeka, stall him," she begged. Emeka sighed. "I'll try, but you know how he is." Adaeze nodded, her mind racing. She had to finish what she started before her father intervened. She couldn't let him pull her back into her old life, not when she was finally finding her own path in the world. While cleaning a table, Adaeze overheard two customers talking about Chief Obi. "They say he's looking for his daughter," one said. "She ran away or something." The other laughed. With all that money, why would she leave? Adaeze's heart pounded. She moved away quickly, her hands shaking. The rumors were spreading, and it was only a matter of time before someone put the pieces together. She had to be more careful than ever. She couldn't let her coworkers or customers find out the truth, not until she was ready to reveal it herself. Mr. Chakuma, the kind regular, returned that afternoon. He handed Adaeze a small package. "For you," he said with a smile. Inside was a beautiful bracelet, simple but elegant. "You remind me of my daughter," he explained. "She passed away years ago." Adaeze's eyes filled with tears. She thanked him, touched by his gesture. The bracelet reminded her of the jewelry she used to wear, pieces worth millions. But this simple gift meant more to her than any diamond ever could. She slipped it onto her wrist, a symbol of the connections she was building. Tolu's suspicion of Adaeze grew. She noticed the bracelet and scoffed. "Where did a waitress get money for that?" she asked, her tone accusing. Adaeze explained it was a gift, but Tolu wasn't convinced. She started watching Adaeze closely, looking for any sign of deceit. Adaeze felt the pressure mounting. She couldn't afford to slip up now. She focused on her work, trying to ignore Tolu's glares. But deep down, she knew Tolu wouldn't stop until she uncovered something. Adaeze had to stay one step ahead, no matter what. That night, Funk stayed late to help Adaeze clean. As they scrubbed the floors, Funk opened up about her dreams. "I want to open my own restaurant one day," she said, her eyes bright. Adaeze smiled, encouraging her. "You'd be amazing at it." Funk looked at her, hesitant. "What about you? What do you want?" Adaeze paused. She couldn't tell Funk the truth, that she was set to inherit billions. Instead, she said, "I want to make a difference." It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the whole truth either. Funk nodded, sensing there was more to Adaeze's story. The next morning, a sleek black SUV pulled up outside Adaeze's. Adaeze's heart stopped. It was her father's driver, Mr. Adaeze. He stepped out, his face serious. "Miss Adaeze, your father sent me," he said quietly. Adaeze pulled him aside, panic rising. "Not now, please," she whispered. Mr. Adaeze frowned. "He's worried. He wants you home." Adaeze shook her head. "I need more time." Mr. Adaeze reluctantly agreed to leave, but not before warning her, he won't wait much longer. Adaeze watched him drive away, her secret teetering on the edge of exposure. As Mr. Adaeze left, Tolu appeared at the door, her eyes wide. "Who was that?" she demanded. Adaeze's mind raced. "Just a family friend," she lied, her voice steady. Tolu didn't believe her, but she didn't push further. Adaeze knew she had to be more careful. If Tolu saw Mr. Adaeze again, she'd start asking questions Adaeze couldn't answer. She went back to work, her nerves frayed. The walls were closing in, and she wasn't sure how much longer she could keep her secret. She had to finish her journey on her own terms. That weekend, a local festival brought a flood of customers to Adaeze. Adaeze worked tirelessly, serving tray after tray of food. The restaurant buzzed with laughter and music, and for a moment, Adaeze forgot her worries. She danced with Funk during a brief break, the two of them laughing like sisters. Even Tolu softened, joining in the fun. Adaeze felt a sense of belonging she had never known in her old life. This was what she had come for, to connect, to understand, to be part of something bigger than herself. It was a moment of pure joy. A photographer covering the festival stopped by the restaurant, snapping pictures of the staff. Adaeze tried to avoid the camera, but he caught her serving a customer. "You're a natural beauty," he said, showing her the photo. Adaeze smiled nervously, asking him not to publish it. "I'm shy," she lied. The photographer agreed, but Adaeze wasn't convinced. If that photo got out, someone might recognize her. She had to be more vigilant. Her father's world was always watching, even when she tried to hide. The thought made her stomach churn as she went back to work. During the festival, a young man named Kemi approached Adaeze. He had been a regular at the restaurant for weeks, always flirting with her. "Adaeze, I like you," he said, his eyes honest. "Let me take you out." Adaeze was flattered but hesitant. She couldn't get involved, not with her secret hanging over her. "I'm not ready," she told him gently. Kemi nodded, disappointed but understanding. Adaeze felt a pang of sadness. In another life, she might have said yes. But for now, her focus was on her journey, not romance. The festival left Adaeze exhausted. She hadn't slept in days, and the stress of her secret was taking a toll. That night, she broke down in her room, tears streaming down her face. "What am I doing?" she whispered to herself. She missed her father, her old life, the comfort of knowing she was safe. But she also loved the life she was building, the friendships, the lessons, the strength she was finding. She wiped her tears, determined to keep going. She had come too far to give up now, no matter how hard it got. The next day, Adaeze threw herself into her work with renewed energy. She had 1 month left before her year was up, and she wanted to make the most of it. She helped Funk with her tables, charmed customers, and even taught Mama T a new recipe she had learned at Oxford. Everyone noticed the change in her. "You're glowing," Funk said, smiling. Adaeze felt it too. She was becoming the woman she wanted to be, strong, capable, and compassionate. She was almost ready to return to her old life, but not quite yet. A new customer, a man in a suit, started coming to the restaurant every day. He watched Adaeze closely, taking notes on his phone. Adaeze's instincts told her something was off. Was he a private investigator sent by her father? She couldn't be sure, but she kept her distance, serving him with a polite smile. The man never spoke much, but his presence made her uneasy. She confided in Funk, who promised to keep an eye on him. Adaeze knew her time was running out. She had to prepare for the inevitable. She couldn't hide forever. One evening, as Adaeze served the suspicious man, her phone slipped from her pocket. The screen lit up with a photo of her and her father at a gala. The man's eyes widened. "You're Chief Obi's daughter," he said, his voice low. Adaeze froze, her heart pounding. "Please, don't say anything," she begged. The man nodded, but Adaeze knew it was too late. Word would spread. She had to act fast. She called Emeka, asking him to warn her father. The secret she had guarded so carefully was unraveling, and she wasn't ready for the fallout. The next day, Tolu overheard Adaeze's conversation with Emeka on the phone. "You're a liar," Tolu shouted, storming into the kitchen. "You've been pretending to be one of us." Adaeze tried to explain, but Tolu wouldn't listen. She told Mama T and the other staff, and soon the whole restaurant was buzzing with the news. Adaeze felt exposed, vulnerable. Funk was the only one who stood by her. "Why didn't you tell me?" Funk asked, her voice hurt. Adaeze sighed. "I wanted to, but I needed to do this on my own." Funk nodded, understanding. Adaeze gathered the staff after closing, her hands trembling. "I'm sorry I lied," she said, her voice steady. "I'm Chief Obi's daughter, but I wanted to prove I could make it on my own." Mama T crossed her arms, her expression unreadable. Tolu scoffed, but Funk squeezed Adaeze's hand. "You're still one of us," Funk said. Mama T finally spoke. "You've been a good worker, Adaeze. That's what matters." Adaeze felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She had been terrified of rejection, but their acceptance gave her the courage to face what was coming next. The following morning, a convoy of luxury cars pulled up outside Mama T's. Chief Obi stepped out, his white hair gleaming in the sun, flanked by his security team. Adaeze's heart raced as she stepped outside, still in her waitress uniform. The staff and customers watched in awe. "Adaeze, it's time to come home," Chief Obi said, his voice firm but proud. Adaeze nodded, tears in her eyes. She hugged Funk tightly, promising to stay in touch. She turned to her father, ready to embrace her old life, but with the lessons and strength she had gained. As Adaeze walked to the car with her father, whispers spread through the crowd. "That's Chief Obi," someone shouted. "She's his daughter," another gasped. Adaeze felt the weight of their stares, but she held her head high. She had nothing to be ashamed of. She had worked hard, earned their respect, and learned what it meant to struggle. Chief Obi smiled at her, his eyes full of pride. "You've done well, my daughter," he said. Adaeze smiled back, knowing she had proven herself, not just to him, but to herself. She was ready for what came next. Before leaving, Adaeze turned to Momati. "Thank you for everything," she said, handing her an envelope. Inside was enough money to expand the restaurant. A thank you for giving her a chance. Momati's eyes filled with tears. "You'll always have a home here," she said. Adaeze hugged her, then waved to the staff. Tolu looked away, but Adaeze didn't hold a grudge. She had learned to forgive. As she got into the car, she looked back at the restaurant one last time, a chapter of her life closing, but a new one just beginning. In the car, Chief Obi held Adaeze's hand. "I was worried every day," he admitted. Adaeze smiled. "I know, Daddy, but I had to do this." She told him about her time at Momati's, the friendships, the struggles, the lessons. Chief Obi listened, his expression softening. "You've grown so much," he said. Adaeze nodded, feeling a sense of peace. She had left as a sheltered heiress and returned as a woman who understood the world. The city blurred past as they drove to the mansion, but Adaeze's heart was still with the people she had left behind. Back at the mansion, Adaeze stepped into her old room. Everything was as she had left it, the designer clothes, the marble floors, the view of Lagos from her balcony. But she felt different. She wasn't the same girl who had left a year ago. She slipped off her waitress uniform and put on a silk dress, but kept the bracelet Mr. Chakuma had given her. It was a reminder of the life she had lived, the people she had met. She looked at herself in the mirror, ready to take on her father's empire with a new perspective. At dinner, Chief Obi raised a glass. "To Adaeze," he said, his voice warm. "My daughter, who has made me prouder than I ever thought possible." Adaeze smiled, but her mind was elsewhere. She thought of Funk, Mama T, and Chidi the hawker. "Daddy, I want to use our wealth to help people," she said. Chief Obi nodded. "We will, together." Adaeze felt a surge of hope. She had seen the struggles of ordinary Nigerians, and now she had the power to make a difference. It was the legacy she wanted to build. The next day, Adaeze met with her father's team to discuss her role in the company. She proposed initiatives to support small businesses and education, ideas inspired by her time at Momati's. The team was impressed, and Chief Obi beamed with pride. Adaeze felt a sense of purpose she had never known before. She was no longer just an heiress, she was a leader, a change maker. She thought of Fang's dream of opening a restaurant and made a mental note to help her achieve it. This was only the beginning of her new journey. That night, Adaeze stood on her balcony, looking out at the city lights. She thought of the past year, the long shifts, the rude customers, the friendships, the lessons. She had gone from a sheltered heiress to a woman who understood the world's complexities. Nobody at Mama T's had known she was a rich heiress until her billionaire father picked her up in a luxury car, but now the world knew her story. And she was ready to write the next chapter, one where she could use her privilege to lift others up. Adaeze smiled, feeling truly fulfilled.